We're all joined today for our last segment. So, we are basically going to be talking about the fundamental theme of our podcast, which is what kind of country would we like? And I first would like to pass it off to Mahima.
So I know we've been discussing this topic from the beginning of the semester, and it's still a very loaded question to me because I know so many of the problems we have within the country, but when it's time to fix it, I feel like a lot of changes haven't been made in our current political climate. So I always wonder, like, what would be the proper things that would bring change? But for me, I know just like Marilyn Robinson discussed, I think that a lot of our country is based on like economic gain. And I think that's something that really needs to be changed because a lot of our problems are based off of money. And I know like that's what happens when you're in a capitalistic society, but that shouldn't be the case. For example, we spend millions and millions of dollars on the military every year. And then when it comes to people that are homeless, people that don't have jobs, people that are constantly working to make ends meet, people in this the prison system, like all of these things, we minimize their humanity and we focus on, oh, we have to protect our country, where the military system currently thrives on students of from like minority groups and things like that that don't have the same opportunities to go to college, the same amount of money, and they use these programs as initiatives to attract people to the military, right? So instead of focusing on what the root problem is, we've always had this idea of America first, we need to protect ourselves and things of that nature instead of focusing on what's going internally. So a big problem I have right now is with the prison industrial complex because I started off as a criminal justice major and I learned so much about how rigged this whole system is, the whole way of keeping people that sometimes do crimes to make ends meet, to feed their children, like something as simple as stealing food and how you're stuck in the system now because you can't afford bonds and then you're wrongfully convicted and the cycle continues. I also think that we've been talking a lot about diversity in this class and in this podcast as well. And I think that's something we should definitely be prioritizing. And I mean diversity of thought, diversity of just like appearances instead of this like ideal concept that we always discuss. I feel like the idea of the melting pot it's true in the regard that we do have people from very different backgrounds and the way people look very different from each other and things like that. But in terms of ideas, we're still in this very stagnant concept of like what we discussed about like white freedom and how white people are still in power. We don't see legislative changes, and we need more diversity in every wake of our society. We need it from the lower levels to people in power. And so those are some of the concepts that I believe that really need to be changed for our country to move forward. Of course, there's a lot more that's discussed by Marilyn Robinson, and I'm sure a lot of you will touch on that as well. So I'll pass it on to Mariah now.
Thank you, Mahima. I just wanted to discuss Matthew Desmond's point in that there's various ways to approach capitalism and there are different systems in place. But the country that I envision is one that values freedoms, including, like I mentioned before, the right to marry whomever one pleases, one chooses. It's also a nation that prioritizes sustainable urban planning and environmental protections and recognizes native land. It is also a country that practices diplomacy with good faith. I personally strive for upward social mobility and an end to the negative attitudes towards Latinos and Latinas who achieve positions through merit rather than cronyism. A better America is one that does not allow its children to fail academically and possesses institutions that are not predatory in scholarships or academic profiles or the chain of getting into a college in the first place and the ability to be educated. I know in some countries you have to either join the military in order to receive an education. And of course, it's not forced, but what other choice do you have? And here in America, it's not necessarily the same, but if you're from a low income family household, or if you receive no income at all, if you are homeless, there's really not a lot of options. And most of the times you have to pursue that same route of choosing these predatory institutions or military work in order to receive an education, and it might not be the path that you want to do necessarily. A better America is one in which police officers do not brutalize its citizens. That should be a given. Unfortunately, it's not. It's something that should be stated and has to be stated. And a better future for our country involves recognizing and also addressing the systems of oppression, whether it be through festive anger or joining coalitions. And I'd like to pass this on to Ryan.
Thank you. For me, a country that I would like to see is one that listens to its people. Right now, we feel like sometimes, that America should already be doing that, as this is a democracy. But sometimes there are still marginalized and unheard voices in this country that are still fighting, yet they don't feel like they're heard. And a country for America that I would like to see is one where these concerns are truly listened and action is actually taken place. So, as previously mentioned, when police brutality, when school shootings, when mass murders, when these events happen, direct action is taken place, and that the government and those who do have the power are able to listen to the people and act right away. I feel like sometimes there can be a disconnect between us as citizens and those who are in charge. But I feel like a country that I would like to see is one that is more interactive and more connected to the people, so they never lose their touch. We might have our representatives, we might have our senators, but sometimes we feel like they're out of touch. But a country that I would like to see is one that truly values the opinions of the people and hopefully seeks to take these criticism constructively and just learns to move forward from it. I would like to now pass it on to Simone.
Thank you. So I think that for me, a kind of country that I would like for America to become is one that has this society that is inclusive and multicultural. I think also fairly capitalistic and democratic country that I think that it should become. And kind of going off what Mahima was saying, where Marilynne Robinson, when she does talk about how this economic competition with other foreign countries and also with this kind of capitalist corporate American greed that is really emphasized in American society really takes back the defining characteristic that America is known for, which is democratic, because there's so many people that are disenfranchised due to some type of society economically, and that there's people who are paid below the minimum wage and who are living in poverty and quite literally living paycheck to paycheck, and that's just not the way of living. So having a country like that needs to be changed, and that to be more inclusive of people, whether it be economically, as Robinson points out, or it be politically and socially. And I think the inclusivity and multicultural aspect, Frederick Douglass, he takes a really good stance on it, on how it should be a country that is almost like a friendship in a way, where everyone who's all friends with one another, in a sense where you're able to communicate with one another and talk to your fellow peers about it and fellow Americans about what's going on in the whole social, political, or economic realm within America, and that At the end of the day, even though we come from different backgrounds and different social settings and economic settings, we're all people, as Frederick Douglass describes, who are following the same laws, who are also advocating against any undemocratic legislation or policies that are created in America or even around the world. And that we're all pursuing this same shared goal of just trying to promote this living standard for everyone, and also for everyone to be able to be involved equally and have a place in society, because everyone wants to feel included and not to be left out or ostracized within it. So I think it's really important to be able to understand that America has to become a country that is fair to people of all creeds and all backgrounds, all religions and identities, as I said previously, which is what Frederick Douglass really emphasizes, that it's a country that can come together no matter what, and despite all the odds, be able to address issues and problems, and also embrace celebrations that we all can have as a country, and also as people who live in America as well. And now I'll pass it off to Isela.
Thank you, Semene. I would say that for the America that I would love to see is America really addressing social issues at its core. Having America prioritize what really is important to this country, what really this country's lacking. And I would say it starts with our youth. It starts where these are the young folks that we're leaving the country to. And if we're gonna prioritize other things such as funding wars, funding mass destruction weapons at the border, giving money to lobbyists for pushing certain political agendas, then we're not addressing anything then, right? I think that America has to do a better job at addressing really what America should be trying to exemplify to its people and to the countries that are watching us, right? These are like times that right now we're just sitting here and listening to one another, and we are all impacted by the American system, legally, socially, politically. And right now we're students, and we're doing our best to understand and grasp America, because it's for me, I think that it's a country that is so hard to understand. To try to be in it despite knowing what it does to our people, it's something that hard to like navigate every day. And America should really kind of take a pause to reel itself into what it means to be a human being again, like what it means to be in just being in solidarity with family, right? Because families, that's what it is. Like, it's that value of supporting one another, of being there for each other, of meeting the needs of another person. And America has to then, if it's like we're all in this collective society, then we should be addressing one another's needs, right? And I think that they could do that by addressing where allocations are being given to, who they're giving it to, because a lot of the times there is a lack of resources for the people that actually need it. I think that there's been a lot of dismissive implications towards other people, and it just continues to snowball I don't think anything has been fixed. There's been this idea of reparations, but I don't think that reparations to them, to white elitists, is meaning an economic reparation. I think that minorities are just really seeking acknowledgement, acknowledging that they have been harmed by these institutions. And I think that, and to take action on those words, right? So what I would like for America to be is a country where we're all thriving, where no one's left behind, where we're, allocating to our grassroots organizations, where we're finding ways of how to sustain the country in a better economic, socially, and political environment. And that we're all having equal access and equitable support systems. So I think that America should aspire to that, should really work towards that with actions.
All right, thank you. So, just any final thoughts, if anyone had anything, to kind of finish off end of our segment? So then if no one has any final thoughts, then that concludes the end of our podcast. Then I want to thank you everyone so much for able to tuning in for this episode. And of course, I want to say a special thank you to everyone here. So if you guys want to give yourself a round of applause, be able to finish and go through our segments and all of our podcasts. And hopefully we're able to leave with anyone who watches this some lingering thoughts about America and what country it is and what country it should and can become with. And of course, a personal thank you to Professor Josephson. If you're seeing this presentation as of right now, I want to thank you so much for having an amazing semester, an amazing class, and for engaging us and challenging us and discussing American political theory. So thank you so much